I just want to thank all of you, dear friend, I want to thank all of you for all your educational emails over the past year. Now I am totally screwed up and have the little chance of recovery. I no longer open a public bathroom door without using a paper towel. I no longer ask for lemon slices in my ice water without worrying about the bacteria on the lemon peel. I have trouble shaking hands with someone who has been driving because the number one pastime while driving alone is picking your nose. I can't touch any woman's purse for fear she has placed it on the floor of a public bathroom. Okay. I now have to use a wet sponge with every envelope that needs sealing because there's poop in the glue. I no longer have any savings because I gave it to the sick girl who is about to die in the hospital for the 1,000,000th time. I have also learned that my prayers, oh, you do this, my prayers only get answered if I forward an email to 7 of my friends and make a wish within 5 minutes. I no longer eat KFC because their chickens are actually horrible mutant freaks with no eyes or feathers. I no longer use cancer-causing deodorants even though I smell like a water buffalo on a hot day. I no longer drink Coca-Cola because it can remove toilet stains. I no longer can buy gasoline without taking someone along to watch the car so a serial killer won't crawl in my backseat when I'm pumping gas. I no longer drink Pepsi or Dr. Pepper since the people who make these products are atheists who refuse to put under God on their cans. I can't boil a cup of oil in the microwave anymore because it will blow up in my face, disfiguring me for life. And the last group, I no longer go to shopping malls because someone will drug me with a perfume sample and rob me. I no longer receive packages from UPS or FedEx since they are actually bombs from Al-Qaeda. I no longer shop at Target since they are French and don't support our American troops. There's more. I can even print out $5 in the parking lot because it probably was placed there by a sex molester waiting underneath a car to grab my leg. I can no longer drive my car because I can't buy gas from certain companies because they are owned by Satanists. And last one, and I now keep my toothbrush in the living room because water splashes over 6 feet out of the commode. Just like there are urban legends that just seem to never die and are passed around and believed by many, there are many urban legends that are believed about God, Jesus, and Christianity. They are passed around without looking to find out if they are true or false. They seem to live on even though they are not true. And before passing them along, it would be good to check into them to see if they are true. A couple of the most popular spiritual urban legends, for example, are, there are many ways to God. And the other urban legend, the Bible is full of contradictions, in which both of them, as we know, is false. This morning, we're going to look into another very popular urban legend, this one about forgiveness. Okay? And this morning I have a question for you, and this is a time, how many have your cell phones right now? You can bring out your cell phones. I give you permission at this time to bring out your cell phones, okay? And I have a question for you. And this is what I want you to do. Okay, this is the question. To forgive is to forget. Choose which of the following is the correct answer. A, this is true all the time. B, this is never true. C, this is true some of the time. And text your answer, this is my phone number. I want you, I give you a few seconds to text me, and I want you to put your name on it so I can connect with you. Since you're not filling out the connection cards, I want your phone number and your name. Okay? And I want this phone to start ringing or buzzing in the next few seconds. Pick a letter, and oh, there you go. Okay? Few seconds. So, you can call me anytime, okay, except for borrowing money. Just kidding. Anybody got cell phones? Okay. Now, I want a census here. How many says A? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. A. B? Okay. C? Oh, there's a lot. Okay, let's find out, okay? Now, lack of forgiveness is the cause of most people's problems. And there's a lot of confusion about forgiveness, especially among Christians. Because of this confusion, many people don't know how to deal with offenses, and as a result, carry bitterness and anger for many years of their lives. So this morning, I hope to clear some of this up. 1 Corinthians 4 and 5. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Does forgiveness mean to forget? How do you forget something? If I told you to forget something, how would you do that? Is it something you can consciously do? No. We don't have the power to purposely forget something. For example, look at the person next to you right now. Most of you, you know their names. If you don't know their names, add their names right now. Now, most of you, you know the names of the person next to you, okay? If I say to you right now, I want you to forget their names, will you be able to do that? Actually, there are several ways you forget something. There's what they call accidental forgetfulness. Like, you forgot to close the door. Or you fail to remember something like, I forgot what she said. This is accidental and it does not look good. It does not look as a good thing. Okay? It is a sign of poor memory, or as some might say, getting old. How about forgetting where you left your keys? Does that ever happen to you? That's brain damage. I do that a lot. I'm looking for my keys whole morning, and where are they? I'm wearing them on my neck. Then there's this kind of what we call intentional forgetfulness. Okay? But it does not mean you can't remember it anymore. Okay? Like you can say to someone, oh, just forget it. Okay? It's just $1. Just forget it. Okay? If they owe you something, okay? What you mean is that they don't have to remember it. This doesn't mean that they actually forgot it. It just means they don't have to keep it in their mind. They can let it go. And this is what they call intentional forgetfulness. We don't have the power to forget something. We have the power to choose to not remember it anymore. This is what we are told in 1 Corinthians 13:5. Translation reads, think no evil, and I read, it keeps no record of wrongs. The Message version says it doesn't keep score of sins of others, or it keeps no record of wrongs. Okay? Keeps no record of wrongs. This means that it is evil if we keep bringing up things that people have done to us in the past. To forgive means to stop bringing it up. It means you don't keep score. To forgive means you don't keep the memory in the conscious part of the mind. Instead, you let it slip into the subconscious. To forgive means you have closed the account. It means you don't keep score. And how many times do we need to forgive? Peter, one of his closest friends, comes to Jesus and says, Lord, this is very familiar to most of you, Lord, how often should I forgive someone who sins against me? 7 times? What you may not know about the culture during that time, most religious leaders or rabbis said that when you offer forgiveness, you don't need to extend forgiveness more than 3 times. And Peter knew that. He also knew that he was talking to Jesus. So he better up the bar a little bit. So he more than doubles it. You see, you can almost see him almost kind of prideful. I'm going to extend charity 7 times, Jesus. According to some Jewish tradition, a brother was forgiven 3 times for the same offense. The 4th offense, however, need not be forgiven because it would be evidence that the brother had not repented. Peter thought he was being generous in forgiving up to 7 times. So what does Jesus say? No, Jesus replied, 70 times 7, which comes to 490. But that's not what he was saying. What he was saying was there's no limit. There is no limit to it. He can ask us to forgive like that. Jesus can ask us to forgive like that because that's how he forgives. But can we forget? Everything that happens to us is registered in our brain and becomes a permanent part of life. It becomes part of our memory. We cannot just wipe the memory clean like a computer or a tape. It is permanent. We don't have the power to erase that file. Now, that memory will eventually move to our subconscious files. But it will not be erased. It just moves to the subconscious files. For example, have you ever experienced somebody come up to you and they know your name and you can't remember or have no idea who they are? We were in the parking lot a few weeks ago, my wife and I, outside the restaurant, and there was this cop guy who called out my name, and I could not remember or have no idea who he was. So I apologized and admitted I could not remember who he was. And only then, time he introduced himself as somebody I worked for over 20 years ago, worked with me for a few months. And that was the only time the information got pulled out of my memory bank. But it's always been there. If someone mentions it, or if something similar happens to you, it will come up again. You have no power over that. The fact is that it will be brought up again sometime in the future. Just because we remember an offense against us is not an indication that we have not forgiven that person. How do we react when we remember that situation? Do we have anger or fear? When we forgive, that allows the memory to heal without becoming infected. So that when we remember it, we are not full of pain, like touching an infection. It is important that when it slips into the subconscious part of the mind, that it is not full of infection. Have you ever touched an open wound? It hurts, right? But when it heals in a scar, you touch it, it doesn't hurt anymore. The subconscious part of our mind affects how we behave. That is what makes our actions so hard to understand. We don't always know why we do things. We need to forgive people and release them by not holding anger and resentment in our hearts towards them. We may not even forget the hurt, but when it does come to our memory, it won't cause us to relieve the pain again. Another urban legend about forgiveness is that you can punish a person after you have forgiven them. Can you punish a person after you have forgiven them? If you truly forgive someone, can you punish them? Yes. Hebrews 12 verse 6 tells us, whom God loves, he punishes. Okay? This is no way means that he has not forgiven us. Also in Psalm 99:8, God forgave but took vengeance on them. And in Samuel, 2 Samuel 12:13-14, God forgave David but punished him by taking his child. Forgiveness does not always do away with consequences. Often, there are consequences even though we have been forgiven. You can forgive a person and still not trust them. Let me repeat that. You can forgive a person and still not trust them, such as a thief, a drug addict, a drunkard, an immoral person. They still need to prove themselves. Okay? If they haven't repented, you especially don't want to trust them, but you still forgive them. Even after they have repented, you can wait until they show by their deeds they have repented. What we are saying is that when you forgive someone, you are no longer angry with that person. You cancel the emotional debt.